All right, so as we finished the last video, you can set your workspace wherever you want to, and I just created on my E drive a simple little Java folder just for demo purposes here. Um, so you can put it, as I said, anywhere you want to. If you wanted to move around each time you start it, you can not check this box. But if you want all of your code to go to that location by default, which probably most of the users do, click that, and then you can launch it from there. And again, I have a Eclipse loading screen in the middle of my main screen over here that just says starting IDE. It's a pretty brownish picture, um, and it's you'll see it. You'll know what it looks like when you get there, but it takes a second to launch up, and then oops. All right, so then I have the tool right here. So it always starts off with this welcome screen. You can click always show welcome screen at startup if if this is helpful. You can see there's an overview, there's tutorials, there's samples. There's lots of stuff to get into. Create a Hello World application, um, all sorts of good things to get started with. I normally close this first time and forget the fact it's out there. But again, well, the donate page. Poor students, we don't have to worry about that. So you see, it's giving us some options right away. I can create a Java project. And so you see I have my Java project name. It uses the default location, so if you ever want to put your project someplace else, you can select where that goes, but there's the default workspace location right there. Um, I notice there's a lot of Java environments you want to go to. Java 14 is the most recent, and I think that's probably what I have on my machine. Sometimes I'll release things at Java 8 because that's kind of a safe. Everybody should be beyond that, but really, I think Java 11. But for our purposes, whatever yours works at should be fine because I have Java 14, so I should be able to run it. But really, we're going to mostly be sharing code anyway that'll get recompiled, so it's not the end of the world. But I will say the Java version you pick might change which Java features are available. If you go back in time a little bit, certain features won't be available as they were added into Java. All right, project layout, nothing like that we need to change, but we do need to give it a name. So welcome, uh, we'll just call it welcome. Lack of a better name. It doesn't matter right now because we're not working on any homework yet. We're just creating something to get started with. So I hit next. For the most part, you can just jump by these and hit finish, but you can see if you wanted to modify your project, have additional source folders, link to resources, put basically deal with dependencies outside the project you already have. So if you're starting a new project that uses some set of libraries or some other project as a library to get started, or you need some special structure, you can set that up here. But you can always, it's not a one time only. You do it and go from there. So here, so the module name, it says by convention they normally start with a lowercase letter. We can change that to lowercase letter. The module name is just going to be how this thing is referred to, in projects and how it gets sent off to other places. Uh, this is not something we're going to deal with. I don't really want to get into explaining that because we're dealing with basic Java stuff. We're not getting into um, to modules at this point. All right, so this is getting your Eclipse environment set up. I'm actually going to come over here and right click. Now, in Eclipse, you could do almost everything either through right clicking in the context of something. So if I right click on source and hit new, it's going to give me options that are generally speaking focused on this. And then I can say class. And that'll allow me to make a new class. And so this is way too cliche, but so we're not going to do exactly this hello world, but we're going to essentially do something just to get a project up and running. By now, hopefully you are accomplished enough coder to be beyond hello world. So really, Hello World makes sense for people who know how to code because you've coded something before. But it does give us some ideas that are not unique to Java, but important to Java. The idea of a package. Um, you do not have to put things in a package. That's called the default package. But if you don't put something in a package, it is never reusable because you can't find it essentially. You have to have a package kind of as an address. It's not a good analogy, but think of it this way. If you want to mail something to somebody, they live on a street, they have an address. Packages are, and not to be pejorative, but they're kind of homeless. They kind of don't have an address. I mean, a homeless person, sometimes they'll get a post office box or something, but generally speaking, it's hard to send them mail, if you will. It's hard to include them in society, which is why homelessness is so bad, and we can get into politics of that, but we won't. But we'll do a package here of welcome just to be in the habit of that. Generally speaking, want to put stuff in a package all the time, and let's just call it greetings for lack of a better term. So we're going to create a class called greetings. Now you can set up other things inside of here if you need to, if you know they're going to happen. They're all things that you do in code anyway. But you can see, you can tell it, hey, please make a static void main here. That's what Java programs need to start. And if there's inheritance or interfaces, you can add those. I almost never do. Because it's just as easy to generate them later on. But if you are aware of it, you can. All right, so notice by default, Java puts the curly brackets on the same line. That's a style issue. It is probably the standard in most of Java. An acceptable alternative is putting the curly brackets in the next line, which is what I do because I think it's easier for programmers, new programmers especially, to see curly brackets lined up. That this lines with this, rather than the word public aligns with a closed curly bracket. But Java does demand these curly brackets, and so we're going to use them. And then system.out.println is the way I print things out, and I have a working Eclipse Java application. And again, this is what's really interesting for experienced programmers because getting this environment set up is the important thing. By the way, I started on the idea of right-clicking. You can also do File, New. You can do, so anything you can do in Eclipse, you generally can do either from the menu bar by right-clicking or through command hotkeys. I will do a lot of command hotkeys over time. I'll try and call them out as I use them, but just know that they're available, in all three of those formats. Sometimes there's buttons too. By the way, there's a fourth one. Often these are buttons here. So I have my code ready, and there's a run button right here. There is also a run option, run, or control F11 or F11 to debug itself. So the easy one is just debug it. And then control F11 is to go from there. I almost always use this button, actually, one of the few cases that I don't always use keys. But there you see down here now, I have a working Eclipse application. All right, so this is the next step. It's just build one of these. That way you're started, and then everything else is adding Java code to it. We really won't do a ton more than just compile and build code. I will get into a few maybe tips and tricks on Eclipse to some degree, but this is the foundations of what you need, and this is the most important thing to get set up. So have fun doing that, and let me know again if you have any issues.